Hey everybody, let's take a look at the anatomy of a VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is a formula, a very powerful formula within Excel. You can also use this formula within Google Sheets, by the way. I'm going to be referring to Excel, but just know this is all transferable to Google Sheets. So VLOOKUP is very powerful because what it does is it allows us to create a little customizable search engine within a spreadsheet. Okay? And when I say within a spreadsheet, I really mean within a spreadsheet file. So you can look within a single spreadsheet, but you can also look within an entire workbook that might have many, many spreadsheets within it. It's a very powerful formula in that it helps us sort of extract data very quickly and with accuracy, okay? One of the powerful things about a VLOOKUP and why employers prize this skill with students coming out of college is that if you know the VLOOKUP, you're demonstrating a proficiency not just with Excel, but you're also demonstrating a proficiency with data. Because in order to learn this VLOOKUP, you must learn some basics about data. Now, if you're looking at this and you're thinking, my goodness, that looks complicated, I want to just offer up first, put a pause on that thought, okay? It's not too complicated. I want to just offer, if you have gone into Excel and you've put in equals, as we all know that means you start a formula, or if you don't know that, just know, you put equals, that tells Excel that you want to do a formula, right? You want to compute a formula. You do equals 2 plus 2, and then you hit the enter key, and you know that you get the value 4, right? And that's because Excel has a built-in calculator to it. And that is how everyone learns how to use Excel initially. We want to leverage that calculator. We want to leverage the ability to combine text with computations. Well, if you know how to do this, then you definitely will know how to do this. It's just a little bit more work, okay? It's a little bit more practice. And the key is to do that practice, okay? If you don't do the practice, you're not going to learn it, and that's true with anything in life. Now, if we look at the anatomy of the VLOOKUP, you'll notice we have the equal sign, right? Just like in this formula here. We also have this word called VLOOKUP. That's the name of the formula. Now, Excel, as a built-in calculator, has the ability where you can hard key in numbers. But if you notice, we also have that sum formula, right? And the sum formula allows us to grab a range of cells and then sum the numbers in those cells. And if you've ever done that, and that's the sum formula is kind of an equal skill set to this type of formula, you'll notice that in here, in the sum formula, we also have a word and an open parentheses. So this sum is a very specific word that Excel recognizes. When you type in the word sum, Excel knows you want to sum some numbers. Similarly, when you type in the word VLOOKUP, Excel knows that you want to run this formula, okay? Now let's get to this piece. What the VLOOKUP is doing is it's allowing you to look for a search term within a data range and then pull back or bring back, report back another piece of data, okay? And then it allows you to indicate the degree of specificity or precision that you want on your search. If you can get your head around how to leverage these 4 pieces of the formula, and I'm going to tell you right now, I've never done anything but false there. It is important to know this is part of the formula. I always keep it false. Now, false means that you're looking for exact precision. So what we're going to really do is focus on 3 pieces. Okay, the 3 key pieces of this formula are the search term, the range, and the column number. We're going to look at that within the on-screen demonstration, and we'll do that next. VLOOKUP in context. What I have in front of us is a small data set, and it's 4 points of data related to 3 different universities. So you can see here I've got the school name in column A, we've got the mascot in column B, the state in column C, and the student enrollment in column D. And I have 3 universities shown here. I've got St. Peter's University, St. Louis University, and Boston College. Okay, and I have the data relates to each of these colleges. And in this cell over here, and I simply just kind of chose to put it here just for no reason other than it was a space I could put it, I have the search term that I'm going to use to illustrate the VLOOKUP. Now, what I have here is and I just want to guide your eyes to it just so that you can see, this is the formula, and it's what I had up on the whiteboard. It kind of lays out the anatomy of the VLOOKUP. So if you notice, the VLOOKUP is first the search term, okay, and then the data range, the column number, and then this word false. And it can be false or true, but as I mentioned on the whiteboard, I'm always going to keep that false. I have the example of what I would need to input into the formula if I wanted to find the state for St. Peter's University, okay? I'm going to mention that just up front so that if you wanted to pause the video, you could take a look at what's in this light yellow shaded cells. This is what would return the state for St. Peter's University. And I'm going to show you what I mean right now. So when I do the VLOOKUP, the first thing I'm going to do is click equals, because that tells Excel I want to do a formula, and then I'm going to type VLOOKUP, open parentheses. So now you can see I've got those 4 arguments. Now these can be a little intimidating because we see words like lookup value, table array, column index number, and we've got the underscores. And it just is a lot of sort of words that are kind of jumping out at us. But remember, up in row 3, in columns G through J, so up here, I have how you can think about this. So the lookup value is the search term, and for right now I'm going to do SPU. The table array is simply the data range that we want to search, and I'm going to use the colors, the data range that I have in cells A2 through D5. And then I'm going to bring back, I want to bring back the state, so I'm going to explain the column reference in a moment, but I'm going to type 3 for now, and then I'm going to always do false. And if you notice, it pulls back New Jersey. Now let's look at what just happened there. What Excel did was it said, okay, you want to look for the word SPU. So Excel says, okay, where is it exactly that you want to look? And I told it A2 through D5. So okay, so Excel knew I wanted to come over to this table here. So Excel comes to this table, and then it looks for the word SPU. Now here's a key point. Here's a really key point. The VLOOKUP requires that your search term be in the first column, okay? So I'm actually going to bold this with like a thick outline just to really make it clear that this column must have the search term. So let me write this in here. Must have search term, okay? That's a rule that the VLOOKUP has. If your search term is not in this first column, then Excel will basically tell you, I did not find what you sent me to find. Okay, so that's the piece where you need to understand the data and how it's arranged ahead of time. And make sure that when you're setting up your VLOOKUP formula, that your search term is actually in that first column. Now if you notice, the other thing I'm going to point out here is I put up here the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 above each column, and that's simply to help guide you visually in the logic that we're about to talk through next. Because we looked for the search term SPU, which as you can see is in cell A3, okay? Excel knew to go through to A3 because I gave it the data range of A2 through D5. But now I need to tell Excel, okay, once you find SPU, what data do you want to pull back? And that's where the 3 comes in. Excel does this. It says, okay, 1, 2, 3. And let me do this, use my mouse as well, just to make that clear. 1, 2, 3. So what Excel does is it starts out at the search term that it finds, and it calls that 1, column 1. Then it goes over the number of columns that I specified. In this case, that was 3. So Excel counts 1, 2, 3. And that brings back New Jersey. So that's how the VLOOKUP works. Now let's look at how the VLOOKUP will work if I swap out the SPU that's in quotes, and I instead put in the formula this cell where I have the word SPU written. You'll notice that New Jersey is still the value, because what I'm doing is instead of just writing SPU in text in the formula bar, I'm referring to this cell C7 where it's already written. Now look at what happens when I change SPU to SLU. If you notice, the state just changed to Missouri. Now let me go ahead and make this red and white font. And now let's choose BC. And note this cell here, cell G7, how it updates. Now it's MA. Got that? That's the power of the VLOOKUP. What it does is it's basically constantly going back and pulling back or reporting back to me the value that I'm searching for. And the search itself is a series of steps that you're giving Excel to do. Okay, so Excel is instantaneously running through 3 little steps. Okay, the first step is what's the search term? The second step is what's the data table? And the third step is where am I going within the data table to retrieve the data that you're looking for? Let's do this again with the mascot. I'm going to do, and actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy the VLOOKUP that I had up above. I'm just going to give you a little time-saving tip. And I'm going to paste it into here. And if you notice, by copying and pasting the actual formula, I preserved all of the typed references. So you can see I preserved the BC, the A2 to D5, and the 3. But now I want to find the mascot. So which column is mascot in? Well, that's in column 2. So I'm going to take out the 3 and replace it with the 2. And now I have the word eagle showing up. So let me make that a nice bright green with white font. Now, let's see what happens when I change the search term from BC to SPU. And as you can see, now we go from the state being NJ to the mascot being peacock. And that is the beauty of the VLOOKUP. Okay, so you got a little bit of an overview, a little bit of flavor for the VLOOKUP. What I'm going to be doing is offering extra credit to my classes because you're really going to learn this by applying it and by using it in a larger real-world context. So I'm going to be throwing some extra credit tutorials out that allow you to kind of play with this formula in a much larger data set than the example I just ran through with the 3 colleges. What I want to encourage all of you to do is to just feel comfortable stumbling through this. I still stumble through it, and I've been using Excel for years, and I'm very comfortable using the VLOOKUP. Remember that with the VLOOKUP, you're verging more towards the programming side of how to empower Excel, okay? The VLOOKUP has 4 different arguments. You have to get every single argument spot on in terms of the specificity of what you're typing into the formula. You also have to make sure that your quotes, if you're looking for text, you have to have text around the quotes. You have to make sure your data is aligned properly and that your data is set up properly. There's lots of different ways that you can trip up and not get the results you're expecting. And the learning here is tripping and then getting up and keeping on moving forward. When you finally get to that point where the VLOOKUP returns what you wanted to return, it's like that aha, it finally clicks moment. That feels really good. It should feel good, and it should incentivize you to keep learning. Okay? Just keep learning and be comfortable with failing along the way. Okay? That's the best advice I can give you. Good luck on the extra credit, and I hope this was helpful. Thanks.